There you go. That's how we do it. All right, let's start this show.
Hello, universe. Welcome to Off the Rails with Tom and Mark.
All right, welcome back. Universe Off the Rails with Tom and Mark, episode 21, I believe. Our first ever 21st episode of our second season.
Yeah, coming you live from the virtual Coldwell Banker Home Sale Realty Studio here in the internet.
You know what I really like about Coldwell Banker, Mark? I don't have to lie when we advertise for them. They are the best. I mean, if somebody gives me enough money to lie, I'll lie, but I don't
we're
have
for
to
sale.
lie.
We're for sale, internet. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, definitely for sale. And we are here with Will Blaine. Excellent. Thank you for coming on, Will. You got a new book coming out. Let's you only have one story. That was Vlad and the Beach.
Vlad and the Vast Beach, that's right.
Vlad and the Vast Beach, and it's wildly inappropriate children's stories. So I'm really happy to have you on. That sounds fun.
Well, it should be. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right. Let's do a couple announcements. Twisted Dreams might be doing virtual this year, Mark.
Okay.
We're talking about that, but we don't know how that's going to work out for the film festival. Are we
Well,
gonna charge
when
people
we were
or-
judges, we got to watch everything remotely from our homes, which was really nice. But like I said before, some movies, especially horror movies, you need to be in the theater. You need to be, with other people throwing your popcorn and getting scared. So we'll see how it works this year.
They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And
Yeah.
also our destination Dino Liam is on hold. We have 14 comedians chomping at the bit to come do some material for everybody. So, hey, we're just putting it on hold. I don't want to set a date and have this thing extend and then have to reset a date again. So we're just doing what we can here on Off the Rails. And Will, have you heard the podcast before?
Just briefly.
Just briefly? You know what's coming next, right?
It's the hot seat! Wow, yeah! It's the hot seat! Hot seat! The hot
Crap, man,
seat
45 minutes.
Off the rails!
All right, let's get Will, author, writer, creator, on the hot seat here. They are thinking about closing buffets forever. What's your go-to buffet and the first plate you eat?
I haven't eaten in a buffet in a long time. I think there is a Thai place. I like the drunken noodles that they had there. Probably my favorite. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah, here in over in Thiensville, there's a Chinese buffet that has sushi, and it's actually pretty good. So when I go there, I get a whole mountain of sushi first.
You think my pictures are off the wall at Dragon Buffet and I can go back to the one in Grafton now?
Your Polaroid? I doubt it.
Don't ever serve this guy. Okay. Yeah, Mark and I got kicked out of a buffet.
Tom,
that sounds
Tom
like a
got
great
kicked
story.
out of a buffet.
That sounds like a great
to.
story.
Mark chose to leave. A guy was looking at me weird and I had to call him out on his bullshit, So, okay, Will, what's your last meal if you're in prison?
My last meal.
Thinking about the prison.
I would probably say pizza. Pizza's pretty good. Yeah. Like I make my own homemade pizzas and stuff like that. That's.
Well, they're not going to let you make it.
Well, you got to make it's your last. If it's your last wish and all that kind of thing. If you're in prison, last meal. I think I have to make an exception.
Okay. I'd go with the hottest chicken wings I could find because there's no repercussions afterwards because I'm going to
I was thinking like baked beans or something. Let's make this. Let's get one last hurrah before we go.
Don't you want something you're going to enjoy?
I love baked beans.
But that's your last meal?
Yeah, my mom used to make this 7-bean bake, and it's delicious, and it's one of my favorite things to this day. So.
Okay. That's good.
Except she doesn't like you later.
Wow.
You know how bad that would
Worth it.
suck if, like, I see the red phone ring and the governor calls to pardon me, and I'm like, nope, don't answer. Screen that. I want to die. I ate these really hot wings. I don't want to deal with this. Just let him.
You couldn't have pardoned me 15 minutes ago.
Before I got these wings in me. Oh, jeez. All right. What are your thoughts on things made of jeans that aren't jeans? Example, jorts, jacket, purses, things like that.
I don't know. I don't think that they're particularly fashionable, but I think that they're probably pretty utilitarian. I've taken old jeans and things like that, and made bags for tools and things like that out of them. Fashion choice, probably not.
Probably not the best. We're not in 1988.
Not in 1988 anymore. No. No. See, that's kind of like that whole. I don't know. You probably remember the early 90s where everything was like that pinkish, dusty rose color and the country blue, light blue color. Yeah, I think that's kind of what the mentality brings back. I have nothing against jeans, but jeans have their place.
I'm always baffled by the pre-ripped jeans, and it's like, well, why am I buying this? I'm an old man. That's a time bomb, is what this is.
Yeah.
I have a pair of pre-ripped jeans that I always get my toe stuck in when I try to put them on, and then I fall over.
It's like you rip the pants in half putting them on, man.
Yeah, it's not fun.
If you get jeans and they're ripped, you got to rip them naturally.
All right.
Yeah.
And
I'm actually because I'm a really cheap guy, so as soon as my jeans start ripping, I get an iron-on patch and I iron it on the inside so no one can see it, and that helps hold everything together.
Oh, Mark.
Yeah, I know.
This freaking guy.
I am so cheap.
Holy crap. All right. Now, this is going to have a little bit of a swear word in it, but do you have a larger bucket list or a fuck it list? And the bucket list is things you want to do, and the fuck it list is things that you will never do again, but you have done one time before.
I'm going to say bucket list by far. I've got lots of things that I want to do. Just places I want to go, people I would like to meet.
Mark's the other end, I can tell. He's got too many things that he's never going to do again.
I mean, I'm down for anything once. So there's a lot of things I've done. I'm like, F that.
Yeah,
I've never made a formal bucket list, so I'm not even sure how big mine would be.
How big do you think it would be? Just right off the bat, could you go like a scroll?
How much time do I got?
Would you like to go to like New Zealand or Australia?
Or would you want to eat octopus again?
Yeah, I'll eat octopus tonight. I have no problem with that. You're the one who hated it.
That's on the list.
Tom likes sushi, so we go to a sushi bar, and when I'm at a place like that, I have to order the craziest thing on the menu, and Tom would not eat it. He was like a 2-year-old child. No.
One on the list. Molly, what do you have a bigger list of?
Definitely bucket list.
Bucket list? What do you want to do? I've given you everything. What? There's nothing left.
What more do you want than a good steak?
Yeah, what's next? All right, money is not an option. It's not an object. You have all the money in the world. What are you going as for Halloween this year?
I couldn't say. I really don't do Halloween.
No? I'd go as like Ed 209 from RoboCop.
No, I have no idea. I think they have a lot of cosplay costumes and stuff like that are pretty cool. Lightsabers and stuff like that are.
So you'd be a Jedi or a Sith?
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
I was just thinking Darth Vader, and you get all your friends to be your stormtroopers.
Yeah, that could be nice. That could be nice.
Molly could be the Emperor, because look at her all whited out over there.
It's actually okay right now. Got normal toned skin right now.
Okay. All right. No wrong answer. What is your Mount Rushmore of best comedians?
I like Dana Carvey, Steve Martin. I guess those kind of guys are kind of older, I suppose. But I think there's classic stuff. I was watching Get Smart last night. Steve Carell. The scene in there where he keeps shooting himself with the little arrows. I was just rolling. That is so funny. He must have shot himself a half dozen times with these little arrows. It pierced his ear and just stuck himself in the cheek and ends up flushing himself out of the plane. But that was the guy's pretty funny.
Okay, Mark, your Mount Rushmore.
Well, I love Paul Tompkins, so he's got to be there. I love Jim Gaffigan. He's great. Dave Chappelle, and I don't know, John Mulaney, maybe.
He's up there.
Yeah.
I'd probably go me when I was 10 years old. That was pretty
me
funny.
when I was 10, me when I was
me
20,
when I was going through
when I was
puberty
30.
because I had a lot of material. Richard Pryor, and then probably me today.
And then me in 5 years.
That's my Mount Rushmore. 3 pictures of me and Richard Pryor. Molly, do you have any?
I did not hear the question because I was
I don't actually
multitasking.
listen to the podcast.
I was looking at something else. I'm sorry.
Okay. It was easy question. Mount Rushmore of comedians. Top 4. Okay, Molly. Love having you on. Great.
She's busy making the show sound great.
Okay.
She's over there flipping switches like the man behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz.
What type of person would you be if you were the opposite gender?
I always thought that I would be some type of vigilante.
So you're going to be a superhero as a woman.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. No,
Okay.
it's like I have this sense of justice in life, and I see a lot of injustice. I don't
So
know.
why don't you do it as a man?
I don't know. I think there's different.
Because girl superheroes are in right now.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Yes. I think women can get away with certain things more than men can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Male
think I would-
superhero can't punch women, but a woman superhero can. So there we
you
go.
All right. Mark, what type of woman would you be?
Probably the exact same way I am as a man.
So
Vaguely
a
effeminate and
stupid
lazy.
bitch. I just owned him.
Yeah.
I would use like my girls and just get people to do stuff for me because they think they could bang me or something. But I would just totally.
She would instantly manipulate all men.
Yes, that would be my go-to if I was a woman.
Molly, what would you do if you were a fella?
I don't think I'd do anything different.
Just
Okay,
sit back and play video games all day.
Sit back, play video games, and hold a bird. All right.
Ironically,
choice.
she'd be holding a cock.
Again, holding a cock. He is a cock. He's a male cockatiel. All right. You get a choice: 1 hamburger or 2 hot dogs. What are you taking?
Got to go for the hamburger.
2 hot dogs all day.
I like the 2 hot dogs because I can switch up the condiments and almost have like 2 different meals.
There you go.
Molly, 1 hamburger or 2 hot dogs?
I want a hamburger.
Are these like Chicago dogs or are these like Oscar
Whatever
Mayer
you want.
wieners?
It is a bun with a hot dog and infinite condiment bar.
And is this like a McDonald's hamburger or is this like a big, beautiful Cops
I would
hamburger
say a
that's
quarter
bigger than the
pound
bun?
that I took off the grill.
Oh, you made it?
Give me the hot dog that was.
I'll take the mystery sausage, thanks.
I want like the Red Robin, like crispy onion rings on it, though.
You can have that.
Okay.
So on the hot dog or the hamburger?
Hamburger.
Hamburger, okay. All right. Mark and I will take the hot dogs. Best breakfast cereal.
I'm going to have to go with Captain Crunch, the one with the berries in it.
Yes! Yes! Oops,
Yeah.
all berries? That is mine. Dun, dun, hey, 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 hey.
Yeah, I don't get that very often, but that's pretty good.
Breakfast Club was playing right now for me on that one.
Yeah, Tom likes the oops all berries or anything fruity and sugary.
And she keeps getting me all this ethnic food of like Lucky Charms and stuff, and I don't want that. I want the oops all berries.
You know, I think that's one of the grossest things is the marshmallows that are in cereal. It is,
Mhm.
I don't know. I just cannot
Yeah.
stand those.
I've never
Dehydrated
liked
little
those.
things.
Yeah.
Well, I usually eat boring cereal. Like right now in my pantry, I think it's Frosted Mini Wheats and Raisin Bran. So,
Oh my God.
of
What are
those
you
two, Frosted
have
Mini
trouble with your stool? Why are you eating Raisin Bran?
Wheats. Hey, you got to stay regular.
I
Ashley
do like
says,
grape nuts. That's pretty good too.
Cinnamon Life.
"Ooh, I love grape nuts."
Grape
Tom
nuts
makes fun
never
of
get
me.
soggy. Those will stay crunchy forever.
That's right.
Yeah, you can pour them today and they'll be crunchy tomorrow when you go to eat them.
Grape nuts are probably my favorite.
What? Those are the most horrible thing on the planet. My
No,
mom
they're
tried to get me to eat grape nuts once when I was
And
constipated.
you can microwave them. Oh,
Don't ever bring grape nuts into this house. Be right down the garbage disposal. Holy crap. I didn't know you like grape nuts. You'll put anything in your mouth. All right. If you had to be eaten by an animal, which animal would you prefer to be eaten by?
Probably something big. I don't know, a giant
Yeah,
shark or
One bite.
Tyrannosaurus or something like that. Yeah, make it quick and easy.
You don't want like a spider to bite you and then you got
No,
that.
I don't know. I think that would probably make several generations of spider's meal, I suppose. Or to be eaten by a shrew or something like that. That'd be terrible.
Okay.
Well, I've always been terrified of like sharks and to a lesser extent whales. So I'm gonna go with something under the sea that I can't even see it, and it's just eating me.
I agree. Just like something that could one bite, like
Just,
it's over.
just here I am floating.
Yeah.
Now I'm gone.
But you don't want to be in the whale's digestive tract.
I'm hoping that I'm gonna die before I get that far.
Yeah, you want them to bite
You're
you.
not like Pinocchio or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
that movie is weird. By the way, I had never seen Pinocchio, and now we have Disney Plus, and I watched it. I'm like, what is this?
It is
This
kind of
is
weird.
nightmare fuel.
You know, I don't know if that would even get made today. That's just,
Yeah.
No.
Let's make a movie where the kids go and they all smoke cigars and play pool, and then they turn into donkeys. It's like, what?
It's a terrifying cartoon.
I
Yeah.
understand the moral of the story, but it's like, really, this is where you first went. All right, this is the timeless classic.
Don't tell a lie. Don't tell a lie. All right, worst date story. What's the worst date story you got?
worst date story.
Taking
on a
Tom to
bad
the
date.
Chinese buffet.
That was a pretty bad date we had.
Well, I'll tell you this one. This takes a little bit of time, but when my wife and I were dating, we were talking about we'd been dating for a while. We were talking about that I wanted to retire early. So I thought I was telling her about how we would have to have some type of alternative source of income, and I was thinking about growing radishes in our basement. And she's like, "Oh,
Big
all right,
radish
okay.
money there.
radishes, right?" So, and what brought this on was it was like wintertime, and I went to the store to get some radishes, and they didn't have any radishes. I mean, not just cheap radishes. There was no radishes. So I was like, I could grow radishes
Molly,
in my
rip that
basement.
bird's head off. What do you do?
Molly, you got a mute button.
Anyway, we're talking radishes here. Come on.
So I was like, if I get these radishes in the basement, I calculated the square footage of my basement. I could make about $1,000 off of every crop. And the thing about radishes is they grow from seed to maturity in about 28 days. So I can get 12 crops out of them. And I thought, well, I figured I'd make about $12,000 a year.
Okay.
And the only thing is that we're going to have to fill our basement with 3 inches of compost. And she didn't say anything. She stops and she's thinking for a few minutes, and then she goes, "We got to break up."
This dude wants to put a bunch of junk in my basement.
Thought you were gonna say you went to the store, you loaded up the car with grow lights and all these indoor
Right,
potted
right.
plants, and the neighbors saw you do it. Oh no, he's growing pot. They call the cops. Cops swarm the place.
It's a
all
sound idea, and I would encourage other people to do this. So just
Fill your
Yeah.
basement with dirt.
radishes.
Well, there's mushrooms. There's other things you can grow too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
You can't do mushrooms.
sure you
gotta
can.
get them wild. Nope. You can't. They don't cooperate.
You
Okay,
can't do
Mr.
morels,
Morel.
but you can
Yeah,
do other
you
mushrooms.
can do
You
baby
grow buttons or
bells.
something.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
They grow them in old mines. That's like one of the places that a lot of them come from.
Okay. Well, all right. Will, tell us a little bit about your book. I only got to read Vlad and the Vast Beach.
Yeah, so this is an entire series of stories, wildly inappropriate stories for children.
Mhm.
It is about all the things that kids do that parents don't want them to do, and we've probably done as kids ourselves. So, Vlad and the Vast Beach is based on Brighton Beach. I used to go there, several times a year, and I'd walk between, down the boardwalk to Coney Island, and all the stores are in Russian. The restaurants are Russian. Everybody that you talk to is Russian. So the story is about a little boy that his mom takes him to the beach and he wanders off. And that's kind of like every parent's worst nightmare is for the young child to wander off and get lost.
Mhm.
Though when I did it as a child, I didn't view myself as lost. I was just going off and doing my own thing, and I really wasn't worried about it. But most parents don't have that view. So I with my daughter, I remember her. When she was young, I would always insist whenever we went to grocery store or anything like that she always hold my hand. It's like, you got to hold Dad's hand when we're going out anywhere, because I was afraid somebody's going to snatch her up. Now, she was probably like, I don't know, 10 or 12 years old, something like that. And she's like, "Dad, do I have to hold your hand still?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." She goes, I said, "Somebody's going to steal you. And you never know who's going to do it." And she's like, "Dad, I'm 5'8". Nobody's going to pick me up and snatch me up. So after that, I didn't make her hold my hand anymore. But she was big for her age. She grew up. She was pretty tall. But you still worry about that. And she's 27 years old, and I still worry that somebody's going to abduct her or something. It's not likely, but
Now, I have a theory after I read Vlad and the Vast Beach. Now tell me if I'm right, because I really think I am. You ended that story, and then your editor called you and said, "We can't have the story end like that. You need to add one more paragraph of, oh, the bird is alive. Don't worry, he's not dead."
Yeah, well, we didn't worry about that. That's not.
No? So that was your original?
Yeah, that's the original.
Okay. Because Carl the pigeon or whatever.
Well, we view Carl as being a seagull. That's what it was in my mind.
Seagull, yeah.
Yeah, seagull, maybe a pelican, but yeah, Carl's kind of a shady character in the story. He's not necessarily a bad guy. He's just doing what seagulls do. But where the story's focused on Vlad's happiness and his persistence. And
no,
and
when I
overcome.
read that, I was certain, like, oh, his editor called him and made him add one extra paragraph that says, "Don't worry, he's not dead. This is fine."
Well, that's the thing too with the story. I don't know if you noticed or not, but the gunplay is kind of the way I worded it is to not be overt. And this is why these are wildly inappropriate stories for children. I mean, they're obviously kids' stories, but
hey, we're German over here. We know about wildly inappropriate children's
right
lullabies.
But the thing,
the Grimm brothers. Yeah,
you don't want impressionable kids to read that and use it as fodder to pick up a gun or wander off from their parents. Or I've got one story. It's called "The Brat with the Bat." And I was reading it to one of my friends who has a 5-year-old son. Within a couple minutes of reading the story, he had a stick and he was going around smashing things in his house. It's just you want kids that are maybe a little bit older than that to read those stories. They're great stories, very relatable, but definitely for a little more mature kids.
Last night we were watching The Princess Bride, and my 2-year-old sees all the swordplay, comes into the room with a broom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get these stories from somewhere else, or are these all completely created by you?
No, these are all completely created by me.
Awesome.
I thought it would be awesome to write. I always told stories to my daughter like this when she was growing up and everything. And I just make up stories off the top of my head and tell them to kids and friends and family and whatnot. So I sat down one day and I said, I ought to write a series about wildly inappropriate stories for children. That's just all the stuff that kids do that their parents don't want them to do. And I came up with about 20 ideas, and I've written on paper about 10 of them. And I've released Vlad so far, and I'm working with an illustrator and a copy editor and stuff like that. And,
yeah, when are we going to get the other ones?
Yeah, it's going to come up pretty soon. I was working on some art. I just posted it to my Instagram and Facebook just a little bit ago. I'm working on some cover art and some illustrations and things like that. So the second story that's going to come out is called Sticky Fingers from Jam. It is based on a naked child running around in the 1970s on my farm where I grew up. So that's an also a funny story too. I grew up on a farm in rural West Virginia, so it's like there's nobody really around, but we lived next door to my uncle, and he had, of course, my cousins that lived there who were several years younger than I was. I was probably like 9 or so at the time, and I was doing my chores. So that meant, and during the summertime, I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and walk to the barn, which is at the middle of the property, which meant I had to walk past my uncle's house. Now, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm walking along, and my young cousin, who's like maybe 3 at the time, exits a cornfield wearing nothing but a smile, and he is covered.
We've all been there.
He's covered from head to toe in sugar. And I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "I made myself breakfast." So he's telling me all about how proud he was of himself, of making himself breakfast. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. Being a kid that young, you're like, okay, there's a naked kid that just walk out of the cornfield. You just take it for granted. That's just how things are. And I went about my business. Now, as an adult, I'm thinking back to that situation, and I'm thinking, I wonder what his kitchen looked like. And I wonder how mad his parents are. Because if he has that much sugar on himself, his kitchen has got to be covered. Probably the living room and his bedroom and every place else that he was too. Right. So the story Sticky Fingers from Jam is based loosely on that and some of my own experiences. As a young child, I hated having sticky hands, and I would rub them on my hair. And my mother hated that.
There's not a lot of people on the show with hair lately.
Yeah, that's
Molly, you're next.
You're up, babe.
I don't know how I've always
So
been curious what I would look like with my head shaved.
You were a teacher. What did you teach?
I taught English in high school.
Of course, yeah. You're an author. Of course, you teach English. Do you ever get all Nazi on people with their grammar on Facebook?
I don't, and the reason
Okay.
was in school I was terrible at English, and I think I suffered a lot. That's probably one of the reasons why I haven't tried being an author earlier, is because I had a lot of negative feedback from professors and teachers in school and different things like that. And they, as far as like diagramming a sentence or other things like that, I can't do it to this day. If you quiz me on the part of speech, I don't know. But as far as like,
just put a comma there, move on. Yeah.
right. Well, but on other things like creative writing and things like that, I'm really really good. But the things that are usually taught in English class, I do not excel at. And
Well, how do you feel as a writer when you write a story? The difference between proper English and the way people talk. How do you put that on paper and say, "Don't correct this. This is what I want my character to say."
I've had discussions with my editor about stuff like that.
Okay.
And it's true. People don't speak the way that they
Written speech.
That's real. And I think as far as the kid stories are concerned, I want to keep it relatively simple. Now I do use words in there that are age appropriate. Like I'm not going to simplify everything down so that young kids can read it. So there are words in there that I use that more mature children would understand, and that was intentional. So this is not intended for young impressionable children. This is for a little more mature audience when they have a little more reasoning ability and not going to take needless risks or do things that are inappropriate for themselves.
Okay. Yeah. And now you're a big fan of Russian, aren't you?
I am a student of Russian, to put it that way.
Okay.
Now, I've been learning Russian for about 10 years, and I would still not consider myself fluent. But it did influence Latin and Vast Beach quite a bit. It is certainly a Russian story. The symbolisms and the ideas behind it are very Russian. I wrote that actually on the plane I was flying from Croatia to Ireland, and I had just met some Russian people that I had talked to in Croatia, and I had that on my mind as I was writing it. It's interesting too. The little girl that was sitting beside me on the plane, she was about 11 years old, and she was like reading over my shoulder because I was writing it like a Google Doc on my tablet, and she's like reading over my shoulder, interested in what the next line is going to be. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's pretty fun to write stories, and I really like the kids' reaction to them.
How did you get into Russian? Like what sparked you to just say I want to learn Russian?
So after Perestroika, that's the Russian word for openness. That's like when the wall fell and all that kind of thing in 1989. There was a whole society of people that they had an atheistic society. I've got a friend that was raised in Ukraine, and she was talking about when she was in school, they would have assemblies, and they'd literally chant "Yet Boga, Yet Boga, Yet Boga." That means there is no God, there is no God, there is no God. They chant that and drill it into their heads. So I know you guys won't get overly religious or anything, but I just think that the individuals that were raised in that society needed to have an opportunity anyway to learn about the Bible if they wanted to. So that was initially why I learned that is to individuals that are interested. I was wanting to teach them.
Okay, well, that's cool. Well, where else? When do you expect this thing to come out? The new thing.
Sticky Fingers from Jam. I'm working on some illustrations and stuff like that, and then it should be ready to go. I've got about half of it done in Kindle already, and I'm working with a copy editor and an illustrator. And
what if your illustrator hands you something and you're just like, no, that is not even close to what I was thinking?
That's in the contract. I wrote a contract. I had the foresight. I had foresight enough. I have very specific ideas about what I want the art to be, and yeah,
because that's got to be hard because you don't want to tell them like, dude, that sucks.
I will, and I have, and and I told them at the outset. I went through a lot of people, interviewing and things like that for this book and for the series, and I found one illustrator that wanted the feedback and wanted me to give very detailed descriptions and it's not like I was trying to take the art away from them, but I do have a specific idea in mind. And when I give documentation to her, she'll have my illustrator will have the whole story, and I'll have, maybe a couple paragraphs of what I'm envisioning, what's there, what's not there, tones, colors, different things like that. Because you have a vision in your head about what the story is. It's like with Bad in the Vast Beach. I envisioned him as a seagull. Other people that have read the story, say a pigeon or a pelican or something. All those kind of work, I guess. But
some sort of nuisance bird.
Right. And it's another thing too. The reason that I thought about the seagull initially was one thing that I do enjoy is probably not very kind, but I like going out to the boardwalk when you go to the beach. And years and years ago, a seagull took like a sandwich or something that I had and just flew off with it. So now I've kind of had this little vendetta against them for probably 20 or 30 years now. That whenever I go to the beach and I go to the boardwalk and they're I'll have a sandwich or something and they all gather around just waiting for me to turn my back or anything like that. So when they're standing there, I'll look at them and stare them down. So I'll look at them.
You ain't putting up with it anymore.
No. It's just I love the point in the staring when the bird shifts from thinking, "Hey, I'm going to get something from this guy," to "This guy's going to eat me," and then they just all walk away.
One of us is getting a meal.
I just think that's hilarious because you can see the light turning, going off in the bird's head, thinking, this guy's been staring at me for a little bit. Maybe I'm in danger. So yeah, they kind of walk off and do their own little thing, but it doesn't stop them. There's probably 10 more when that one left. But it's probably again not very kind, but nonetheless.
There's seagulls.
Little simple things in life that make you happy. Huh?
Like the Ron Pertee of birds.
Right.
Yeah. What's your most inappropriate story that you got that we can look forward to?
The most inappropriate story, probably the brat with a bat is
okay.
Not very appropriate. So it's about a young child that gets. Matter of fact, if you want me to read it to you, I can read it to you guys.
Hey, why the hell not? We got time to kill, right?
Let me see here. Let me pull it up. This is
this is a live reading from the author himself. Yeah, I'm not gonna put a kibosh on that.
All right, so this is not published or anything like that, and of course it's copyrighted and everything. But
okay, let's hear it.
I'll read it in its entirety. It takes like 5 minutes. So, what is this that my eye see? Slender, metal, so shiny. I'll take a swing. No one will care. It won't hurt if they're unaware. To swing feels good from where I stood in the middle of my living room floor. I heard the whoosh of the wind as the bat would descend and make.
I
crap!
Lost him.
I think I lost you. There we go.
Yeah,
we're back.
Okay.
I thought that was dramatic effect.
No, it left a dent in the door.
Whoosh of the wind and blew him away.
Like before, I continued to swing away. It was not that I planned, but the bat left my hand because my grip had gone astray. The bat flew through the room and continued to zoom because I had opened the door. When it landed, it smashed a large pot. Then it crashed to a table Mom used to a door. I picked up the bat and then calmly sat to survey the damage I'd done. As I looked all around, I imagined Mom's frown, but then again thought, that was fun. I tossed the bat in the air because I didn't care if I broke a thing or two. Look over there. It looks like a chair. It seems to be made of bamboo. I took a big swing, then heard the ping as the bat made contact with wood. The wood didn't move. I'll have to improve and swing harder, in all likelihood. As I gave it a whack, it developed a crack and the leg fell onto the floor. Impressed with my style, I developed a smile. It snaked wryly, much like before. Oh, and what to do now, I said to myself as I stepped slowly into the yard. I swung as I walked, but then soon I balked. I saw a goat who was a diehard. Now, this is also a true story based on my childhood. We had a dairy goat farm, and the males would always, they are very aggressive. They loved hitting you with their head or whatever they could. They're very aggressive. So this is based loosely on my own experience. The bully would butt anything that's clear cut, so I decided to give it a try. He stood on hind legs and gave me a gaze. As I swung, I gave a war cry. I heard the sound of the ping, then thought, poor thing, but then looked at the end of my bat. I stood there amazed that Billy was not fazed by the violence of the impact. My bat sustained damage, that much is true. Billy dented the end of my bat, but I didn't care, for sure I could swear that he enjoyed the combat. I continued on foot. I needed input to figure out what to smash next. I saw a small tree. It was right next to me. I focused my muscles and flexed. On the branches was fruit, the red glossy sort. I swung my bat hard, but I was too short. I threw my bat up, that is, up in the tree, and down came an apple, as fresh as can be. I threw the fruit up, then took a swing. The apple was smashed over everything. I was covered in sauce and sticky to boot. I should have thought better than smashing that fruit. But that didn't matter. I was okay. I was off to smash something without delay. I didn't get far until it caught my eye, a brown paper object that wasn't that high. Should I just ignore it or give it a whack? I walked all around it and planned my attack. Now the queen was quite vicious, and so was her brood. No one remembers when she was in a good mood. In her domain, she eagerly sat, just waiting for a youth with a metal ball bat. I struck the first blow, and with hornets in tow, the savage queen from her nest started to flow. They covered my body from head to toe. From assaulting me fiercely, the queen would not slow. I looked back at my house in my agony. Then I saw my dad jump from my balcony. He ran with great velocity to come to save his progeny. I was screaming and crying as my daddy arrived. He carried his girl away from the hive. The queen was still angry. She continued the attack, putting large welts all over Dad's back. As we jumped in the creek, she brought to a halt the horde of mad insects in their vicious assault. By the time we got home, my mom had arrived. We told her about the incident with the hive. Though she felt badly for my affliction, she was still very angry with the damage I'd done. Dad spoke to Mom softly in gentle hushed tones, then walked to the deck made of old cobblestones. He started picking up pieces of smashed pottery. Then I knelt by his side, feeling camaraderie. I was stabbed to the heart, I have to confess, when I saw my daddy cleaning up my big mess. Though it hurt me a little to kneel by his side, I did it quite proudly, my sorrow implied. They taught me a lesson, the queen and her crew. Because of my daddy, I've changed my worldview. In time, Mom forgave me, and I'm glad of that. Because of them, I'm no longer a brat with a bat.
There you go. Thank you very much. Live on Off the Rails, first time ever being released. That is awesome.
Yeah, so all of them are kind of like in that format. They have a little lesson at the end, and try to keep kids from doing ridiculously stupid things. But I think that's something that most kids would do. I mean, I did it as a child. I hit a hornet's nest with a stick. That's just
not a good idea.
Not
My
a good
dad has an
idea,
apple
but
in the backyard. Yeah, I've smashed apples all day.
I think the kids have a thing that I'm trying to convey in here. It makes sense from a child's perspective to do those kind of things because nobody has told them not to.
Mm-hmm.
And because children don't have as much reasoning ability as adults, obviously, they do things like that. I can remember as a child having a ball bat or a golf club or something like that and just going around and hitting things. Not intentionally being malicious, but that's just what you did.
I've studied child psychology a lot in college, and a lot of times people are just trying to discover the basic laws of the universe.
Yeah.
So when you see like a baby holding something and they drop it off the, high chair,
mm-hmm.
They're not making you get it up. They're just wondering, why does this thing always fall down? Why doesn't it just float? Why doesn't it float up? They're learning the rules of the universe. So I can see that children are just like, hey, in order for me to know what's going on, I got to experience some stuff.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to smash this apple with a bat.
Right.
See what happens.
Yeah.
It's trying there. Do you always use the rhyming cadence?
Typically, I don't force it. Typically, if you saw Aladdin at Bass Beach, not everything rhymed in that story, but for the most part, it did. If it lends itself to it, I try to make it rhyme. But if it I've read a lot of poetry that they kind of like force the rhyme and it sucks. So I didn't want to do that. So if it flows naturally and it sounds good, I'll use a rhyme. If not, I'm not really forcing it.
Do you ever dabble in writing musical lyrics?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole thing could have been a rap, Mark.
Well, it had that kind of rhythm and flow to it, and there are kind of like those ballady type songs that tell a story. So
Yeah, I've
could have
written
been
many.
could have been November Rain.
I have actually written several songs, but I've never. I don't know. I never really did anything with them.
Well,
Okay.
let's hear them. Grab the guitar, buddy. Let's do it.
I'll go set up rock band.
Talented.
So, how's the COVID been affecting your writing process? Has that changed you any, or are you writing more?
I have not been writing as much actually. I've been doing more promotions and stuff like that. I've just going on podcasts and finding podcasts to go on and doing marketing research and stuff like that. So that's what I've really been focusing on the last month or so.
Yeah, glad we can help you out.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
No, it's-
Give me some recipes and set me up with some guys. But yeah, I still write. I try to write a little bit every day, and I think that's just a good
How
way.
do you prefer to write? Do you like to type? Do you like to handwrite things?
I usually just open a.
he punches Morse code into the wall.
Well, I've noticed I write better on paper because if I'm at a computer, I'm constantly just erasing and revising on the spot, and nothing ends up getting written at all. So
Well,
I'm just curious what your approach is.
Yeah, I usually
That's
just
what I did
open a
this
Google
week.
Doc
Paper.
and just write stuff. And I I have different applications that I'll use for different ideas. It's like I thought of a series of words to use in a story that I'm in the process of writing. Now this is going to be used later in the story, but the story line goes something like this: the mother finds her child repurposing her silverware.
Mhm.
So,
To make werewolf bullets, obviously.
well, I was thinking. So when I was younger, everybody has probably taken a spoon out of the drawer and used it as a shovel in the backyard. So
Sure.
the story is all about alternative uses that these children have used their mother's silverware for, and the final incident, the mother doesn't have very much silverware left, and the children are using a bungee cord to shoot the silverware that's been bent in half in the distance. So the line goes, the mother comes out and she goes, "What are you doing?" Mom cried. And then the child replies, "I don't know," we replied. It says she put her head in her hands and she let out a long sigh. So I've written that I don't know, months ago.
Mhm.
And just because I can imagine the frustration and how flabbergasted mothers are at coming on a situation in which they can do nothing about. They cannot believe that their children have done this, and yet there they are in the situation.
I'm just picturing me and my neighbor kids growing up doing that, just launching stuff
sure.
with bungee cords, and they had giant rubber bands for some reason, and we do
Yeah.
those.
So and personally, I've used silverware for digging in the yard. I've used a knife for scraping a brick wall, and this ruins your mother's silverware. But there's probably I left home when I was 18. That's a long time ago. But there's probably still knives and forks and spoons and stuff around the farm from where I have done different things with all of my mom's silverware. Now she didn't have a matching set. She probably had the foresight to know that something like this would happen. But most families have a nice matching set of silverware that they keep relatively polished and clean and decent, and certainly do not approve of their child using it for such purposes.
So do you ever hear someone else telling a story and you're like, this is a pretty good story, but if I wrote it down and tweaked it a little bit, this could be literary history? You ever do that?
So I'm writing a story right now. It's called Wee Wally. And part of the inspiration for that was one of my friends at work was telling the experience about him going to Disneyland with his nephew. And his mother was holding the little boy's hand, and he tells his mom that he has to pee. And she's like, "Okay," as in, "Okay, I'm going to take you to the bathroom." He interpreted it as, "Okay, go ahead and do it."
Let her rip.
They're walking in the main entrance, where everybody is walking toward the giant castle, and he whips it out and is peeing along the street. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. So, I do think, I do use things like that as inspiration. Now, obviously, it's going to be, phrased a little better and everything like that. But
Yeah, if I told this story, it would be better than your dumbass telling the story.
Well, it's not like that. It's just that you have to phrase it to where it rhymes.
I
So
understand.
Yeah.
it's aesthetically pleasing and
Theater of the mind.
more
Tom.
appealing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, I think that's cool. I mean, a lot of times people are like, every story my sister ever told me ends with "you had to be there," and then she just laughs walking away, and nobody else thinks it's funny. But it's like, you know what? If I took that story and I wrote it down, there might be some comedy here.
Yeah, absolutely. There is so much stuff that I just hear every day that I could just, if I just wrote it down, I could write forever. Just funny stuff. You know, as men, we were all boys at one point, and maybe even some men today enjoy peeing on stuff. You know, that's just
I
what
write my
happens.
name in the snow every year.
That's a thing.
Cursive.
It's a thing. You know,
Yeah.
so I personally have peed on tires, walls, and
Yeah,
you know,
because then
that's
it's
not-
yours now.
I'm not sure what it is about it, and men understand this. I'm sorry, Molly, but most men will understand this whole thing that we pee on things, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like a rite of
Yeah.
passage, and I think that
It's like you're putting on a little fire. Yeah.
well, I think that stories like that are what fit into the wildly inappropriate stories for children series.
Yeah.
It's just another thing that your mom didn't want you to do, but you're
My
going.
dad used to, or I had to have a big talking to because I used to go hunting with my dad, and if you had to pee, you peed outside. So then when I was playing with my friends in the yard in the neighborhood, I just said, "Well, I'm hunting now." And then I would just be outside, and they're like, "Dude, you can't whip it out in the neighborhood, man."
It's a time and a place, Tom.
So I had to get that talking to of, "No, you're not hunting," but I was hunting when I was peeing. So
Makes sense. Makes sense.
that's excellent. All right, Will, where can we find you?
Yeah.
Where can
So
we get a hold of your work?
my book is on Amazon. If you go to www.amazon.com/author/Will Blaine, WILLBLAINE, that's my author page, and that's where you can find Vlad and the Bass Beach and soon Sticky Fingers from Jam. It's on Kindle and it's soon to be on Audible as well. So
If you
Oh,
got the
cool.
Kindle subscription, you can get it for free.
that's
So
right. That's right.
he's part of that.
Yeah. So it's available in paperback. Also, you can look for me on Facebook, Curious Mind of Will. It's Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. I just opened a Tumblr account yesterday, so I am
Oh.
now on Tumblr. Curious
You're further
Mind
than
of Will.
us.
What's that?
You're further than us. We have not even opened up Tumblr
You know,
account.
I've done like Twitter and Tumblr, and I find that Facebook and Instagram are kind of tolerable, and this kind of tells my age, I guess. But I have a hard time with a lot of these apps that I just don't get. I mean, I don't understand the value or
Oh, we know.
yeah. Okay,
We're on your side big time. No matter what you say, we're on your side. We don't get a lot.
What is this Twitch and the TikTok?
Right. Well, there's
Why do I need a Snapchat? What do they want?
Yeah.
Wait,
well,
my picture disappears in 10 seconds? What the hell? Why?
my sister invited me to Snapchat, and she sent me like this picture, and I opened it up, and I was trying to figure things out, and the picture goes away, and I'm like,
Wait,
what?
It's gone?
Yeah, it's gone. It was like, she goes, oh yeah, it only appears for like 5 seconds or something, and I'm like, why?
What
Why?
a time to jerk off. What are you doing?
Well, I mean, I just don't. I didn't understand that, so I was like,
I
I'm
just got the mean look from Molly.
So I got Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr, and of course I'm on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So you can look for me, Curious Mind of Will, and Will Blaine on Facebook and Tumblr, and I also have an author page on Facebook as Curious Mind of Will as well.
When's it going to be all the way out?
All the way out is going to depend on some illustrations, and that's really what's we're looking at right now. And I'm working on a few things with my copy editor, so it should be pretty quick. Yeah.
Just follow him and stay tuned, universe, is what he's saying. Don't give up on him. So, all right, Will, thank you very much. If you want to stick around, we're just going to do some off the rails, would you rather questions for a bonus episode. We're going to just hang out. Welcome. We're going to end this feed. We're going to start a new one. So up to you.
I'll hang out with you for a little bit.
Cool.
Okay. All right, Mark, where can they find us, and where can you do your shopping for all of your Amazon needs?
I don't have my paperwork here. I'm assuming you mean go to our website, click the Amazon link,
That is a
then
wonderful assumption.
Anything you purchase, Amazon is generous enough to share some proceeds with us. So it's a great
Between
way to
3 and
support the show.
10%, depending on what
Yeah.
you buy.
So yeah, we are Off the Rails with Tom and Mark, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those places. Off the Rails TM. And I still don't have my cheat sheet, so I forgot what the rest says.
Everything's Off the Rails TM. Make sure you go check out Will Blaine. Read his hilarious, inappropriate children's novels, novelettas. Would that be proper?
Short stories, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm totally wrong. Just listen to him. Don't listen to me. So, all right, universe. Thank you very much. We're gonna come back. We're gonna take a 5. We're gonna take a 5, and I want you to know that we're not good enough. Thank you, Will.
Thanks for tuning in, universe.